The Florida Panthers extend their winning streak to 7 games on Saturday afternoon in Colorado while losing Sam Bennett. And should the Panthers go after the President's Trophy with them being in striking distance? And how does a future Sam Reinhart contract compare to those who already got the bag?
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Monday, January 8th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez from the Hockey News. You can follow me on X at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on X and Instagram at LO_FLA Panthers. And shout out to everydayers who come back here and get your daily Florida Panthers fix. And today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase at Game Time. So the Florida Panthers, they go into Colorado, and a game where there was a lot of unknowns with the statuses of Alexander Barkov and Evan Rodriguez. With the Panthers not having a morning skate on Saturday, Paul Maurice spoke to the media about 2 hours before the game happened and said that they would be game time decisions. And lo and behold, we saw both of them on the ice, but with Barkov with a face shield, and for the Colorado Avalanche on their side of things, no Bowen Byram and no Miles Wood for them. And they had in goal Ivan Prosetsov. So they were giving Alexander Georgiev the day off and all that. But man, the Panthers exploded for 3 goals in a span of 7:41. I mean, the first one going 110, where you get the puck down deep. Matthew Tkachuk finds Carter Verhaeghe right in front and beats Prosetsov. And then the second one, Alexander Barkov was circling around Nathan MacKinnon, gets it back to Gus Forsling. A shot from the point is redirected by Sam Reinhart in front, and then just Alexander Barkov was just everywhere defensively, and then distributing to his teammates. I mean, 4 assists on the night. I mean, you see that Cale Makar, as talented as he is as a skater and a defenseman in all situations and all, too deep in his zone, stripped by Barkov. Erod gets a touch to Barkov, stretch pass to Sam Reinhart, and then finishes on the breakaway. I mean, and it's crazy because even though the Panthers had, I mean, we saw a situation where the Panthers on Thursday night where they had to stop the 5-on-3 for the Vegas Golden Knights, and then they have a 5-on-3 on their own later. But even before that, Barkov goes to the box for a high-sticking double minor, and then stopping the 7th best power play in the NHL. 3 shots on goal on the power play on the first one, and even almost made it 4-0 on a 2-on-1 when he got out of the box with him and Sam Reinhart. And I mean, there's not many times where you think of a non 2-on-1 conversion and you're up 3-0, and then you're trying to think to yourself, remember that non-conversion by the Panthers. I was thinking that a little bit in the back of my head, and then I thought about the last year's game when the Panthers visited Colorado. It's like, this is not a lead that you can get comfortable and all. And the Panthers, they doubled the shot attempts in the first 20 minutes in Colorado. So you're in good standing, right? Nope, not quite. 52 seconds in, they get 2 goals. One where a zone entry, all eyes are on Nathan MacKinnon for a good reason, but not a lot of eyes were on Cale Makar, as his shooting lane was clear as he was the trailer, and then beats Bobrovsky. And then the next one after 31 seconds later, 3-on-2, get it down low, and Nico Mikkola bumps into Sergei Bobrovsky, has him lose his stick. The Colorado Avalanche gets it back to Josh Manson, and then makes an original save, and then goes into the goal, and then Sergei Bobrovsky lost his stick and kind of had a hard time getting back to his position after that. So it was a series of unfortunate events, and great call by Paul Maurice after giving up those 2 goals in the 52-second span to call his timeout and to settle his team down after that. And honestly, I don't really understand the extra 2 for Matthew Tkachuk for roughing when he went after Samuel Girard, when he went to the crash the net for goalie interference. You know, it's like they don't want the Panthers to protect their own goaltender, because I mean, whenever you're taking that many hits and crashing, and then sometimes with if you're looking one direction and your mask with the peripherals is blocking your attempt to avoid a hit, I mean, listen, that's how injuries can happen and all. And credit to Kachuk for protecting his goaltender. I mean, 33 seconds into that power play by the Colorado Avalanche, Nichushkin redirects Cale Makar's shot from the point, and we even spoke about it when we previewed this game that Valery Nichushkin is a guy in his office that can get those redirections out in front. I mean, he won a Stanley Cup with a broken foot, so those are the players you got to stop as well. And I mean, later, I mean, we spoke about Barkov earlier. Barkov again on this one, the battle down low and get it back to the point for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and getting it past the glove with no traffic in front. And that's when Jared Bednar said decide to pull Prosetsov and put in Alexander Georgiev. And then another opportunity for the Florida Panthers was when Eetu Luostarinen got a breakaway and he sprawls out and reaches out with the stick to stop the opportunity. And it's not necessarily the score that has been reminiscent, for the Panthers play as of late, but the mindset of the team has not changed when they go ahead. 5 of the 7 games during their winning streak, they haven't trailed. And it was the same thing. Yeah, it's a high-scoring game. Yeah, 8-4. Yeah, it's not a baseball score. There's no home runs or long field goals in Denver, Colorado on Saturday afternoon. But, I mean, you think about this, the mindset is still the same as far as not getting away from your identity and not getting away from your game. And the thing is with the Florida Panthers, they are the team in the NHL who leads the league in least amount of offensive zone time given up to their opposition, while the Colorado Avalanche lead the league in offensive zone time offensively, plus 19 goal differential, best in the third period in the entire league. So it was basically strength on strength for the Florida Panthers against the Colorado Avalanche in this matchup. I mean, the whole defense wins championships is so true when it comes to the style of play for the Florida Panthers. And honestly, I'm going to go break down more of the defense and style of play more in segment number 2 for a good reason. You'll know that in a bit. But you think about how in many different sports, I mean, you think about and even in the NHL, the Florida Panthers high firing offense back in 2022 was stopped by shot blocks and cleaning up the slot as well. And that's how the Florida Panthers got swept in round 2 against the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, even in football in 2013, I believe it was 2013, the Denver Broncos lead the league in most touchdowns, passing yards. Peyton Manning sets a record, but then look what happens in the Super Bowl. Absolutely manhandled by the Seattle Seahawks. And we're even seeing this with the Miami Dolphins now. Hate to bring this up, but high power offense. But then when they go up against a good defense, I mean, they crumble and all. And so you think about what the Panthers style of play, man, it's just one style that's just can travel, and we consistently beat on this as well. And honestly, the adjustment period for the Panthers, I mean, yeah, you give up 3 goals in the second period against Colorado, and that's the long change period. You're probably winded with the altitude as well. 13-7 shot on goal differential for Colorado in the second. I mean, not easy. Like that can't be easy and all. And listen, 3-0. They tie. You go up 4-3. They end up tying on that breakaway from Gerard stretch pass to Jonathan Drouin, with which Nico Mikkola got beat. Not the best game for Nico Mikkola, but it doesn't tell the whole story about how he's been this season. He's been still a great ad. And crazy enough, the top 3 picks in the 2013 draft on full display with McKinnon, who averages a point per game at home this year. Just incredible as well. And then Jonathan Drouin, his teammate in junior hockey, and then Alexander Barkov all on the same ice. It's crazy because you have the 2014 draft as well with Ekblad, Reinhart, and Bennett as well, which the Panthers did lose. Sam Bennett doesn't go out for the third period as well. Paul Maurice spoke about how he'll get reevaluated after. There's no update, but they're not too concerned about it. The Panthers still haven't announced when they'll be practicing prior to their game against the St. Louis Blues. We're still waiting on full confirmation of that as well. But think about, we mentioned it earlier, the Panthers stopping that 5-on-3 against the Vegas Golden Knights. They had a 5-on-3 on their own, to a double minor, which Erod, it wasn't originally called on the ice, but then the only way you could review to see if it's down to 2 is if you originally call the double minor. And then fortunately for the Panthers, they get the 4-minute power play as well. And then Logan O'Connor goes to the box for delay a game puck over glass. And then the Panthers are able to to convert on the 5-on-3 with that same triangle passing play from the near side wall down low, and then back to Reinhart for his third goal, which is a hat trick. Third as a Panther, 7th in his career, and then crazy 28 goals in 39 games, 10 goals in the last 7, and 17 of them being on the road. And then probably the most jaw-dropping play goal of the afternoon, where Kevin Stenlund actually loses the faceoff. The Colorado Avalanche can't hang on to the puck, and then Ryan Lomberg touches it back to Stenlund and then backhands it with his numbers back of Georgiev and then scores as well. Panthers top it off with 2 empty netters, one by Verhaeghe, one by Tkachuk for his third goal in his third in 3 games in 2024. But the Panthers, they're winning every board battle. They were eliminating the speed for the Colorado Avalanche as well, and that is a formula when you're going against these high firing offensive teams as well. And it's not, and even Randy Moeller on the broadcast speaks about when the Panthers are on the penalty kill and all, and when it comes to the lack of shooting lanes open, you're seeing the Panthers kind of reach with their stick, but they're not reaching for too much with their body as far as out of position and all. And I think, and honestly, yeah, I know the Colorado Avalanche scored on the power play on Saturday afternoon, but still, you think about how the Panthers just locking it in, no pun intended, with the show, but not having that part of the ice open, and then the shooting lanes not being open. I mean, you gave up only 4 shots on goal in the third period, and masterful effort by the Florida Panthers. I mean, 8-4, highest goal total of the season in a single game for the Panthers, and just seven game winning streak. And you got to be quite pleased with everything that happened with Barkov being in a face shield, losing Sam Bennett and all as well, and then having to dig deep with losing a 3-goal lead as well. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to discuss the Panthers being in striking distance of the President's Trophy. We discuss whether the Panthers should go after the President's Trophy and whether I think the Panthers should. We're going to discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time, and you shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets to your next big event. Game Time is the fast and easiest way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, view from your seat, and the best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. See the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. All-in prices show your total upfront, so you know you're getting the great deal before you check out. Buy tickets in seconds with just 2 taps. Game Time has deals right up to the start of the event, even an hour after it starts. It's the best place to find last-minute tickets. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals for tickets for football, basketball, hockey, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. With Zone Deals, you pick the section, and Game Time picks the seats for big-time savings. Download the Game Time app and create an account and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day from the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. So, just out of curiosity, I mean, I was looking at the standings and all. The Panthers have really, they've really set themselves up well during this winning streak. I mean, when you think about the Panthers and their Western Canadian trip just recently, only getting 4 points out of the 10, and then first game back, you get embarrassed by the St. Louis Blues, and the only goal is scored by one that goes off the glass and into the net with the goalie out of the net. You think, man, is this team in trouble when with the lack of goal scoring as well? And man, the goals have come as well. And just thinking more and more about the Panthers, they're 4 points out of the top spot, not only in the East, well, 2 points out of the East, but 4 points out of the tops of the NHL. for the President's Trophy. Yeah, we saw the Panthers win the President's Trophy back in the 2022 season. Different style of play, the run and gun style, 4.16 goals a game, if I remember correctly. And the question is, should the Panthers go for the President's Trophy? And would you like to see the Panthers win the President's Trophy as well? So as far as luck, as far as the amount of teams that win the President's Trophy and winning the cup, only 8 have won the Stanley Cup. And I'm not going to tell people how to fan, but with the poll that I put out, a majority of you don't want the Panthers to win the President's Trophy. And let me see real quick. 78 votes as of right now, and 67%, 2/3 exactly, don't want the President's Trophy for the Panthers as well. And I understand that. Let's just go over the statistics for the President's Trophy post 04-05 lockout. But as far as the history, the 36-year history of it being handed out, only a fourth of them have won the Stanley Cup. Post 04-05 lockout, the Detroit Red Wings of 2008 with 115 points, and the Blackhawks in the shortened season in 2013 at 77. And only one other has made the Stanley Cup final, the Vancouver Canucks of 2011. So, and let's not forget that the Chicago Blackhawks started off with an insane point streak without a regulation loss. And we've seen more teams bounced in round one after winning the President's Trophy than we've seen Stanley Cup final appearances. So that's the history of that since the 04-05 lockout. Washington won 2 years in a row, lost to Pittsburgh twice in the second round, which the NHL still hasn't fixed the as far as the playoff format, as far as facing your division rivals in rounds 1 and maybe even possibly 2, which an Ovechkin Crosby conference final would be better than a second round series, but that's neither here nor there. But they still haven't done anything about it. Kucherov gets a one Hart Trophy season in a contract year. Lightning win the President's Trophy, get swept by Bobrovsky, Panarin, and the Columbus Blue Jackets. Boston has been weird. They won the President's Trophy twice in a 4-year span. The first one being prior to the COVID bubble, where they lost every single game of the round robin, become the 4 seed. Tuukka Rask left the bubble too. They advanced past the first round, but then lose in the second round to the eventual Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning. And we saw the Colorado Avalanche go through their second round demons, and they finally got over it in the year that they did not win the President's Trophy, which was the year that the Florida Panthers did. But even prior to that, the year they won was actually there was no margin at all as far as point margin. They won based on having 5 more regulation wins than the Vegas Golden Knights as well. So they were neck and neck as far as that. But the Vegas Golden Knights did advance past the Colorado Avalanche, beating them in 6 games before losing to the Montreal Canadiens in the semifinals prior to the Tampa Bay Lightning winning their back-to-back chips. And yeah, now the biggest upset in Stanley Cup postseason history with the Panthers and defeating the Boston Bruins in 7 games, getting that overtime winner in game 5 and 7, that high scoring affair in game 6, that 7-5 win for the Florida Panthers as well. And here's the thing. When you're our player on the ice and you're always trying to win, it's just like how I know the San Jose Sharks, as of right now, have lost 11 in a row, their second 10-plus game losing streak of the season. But those players don't tank. They just don't. So, just like how players don't tank, players don't think about the superstitions of President's Trophy curses and all of that when it comes to an opportunity. When you think down the line that if you have a Game 7 at home in the Stanley Cup final, you're going to get that opportunity as well if you make it that far. But again, like I said at the top of the segment, I'm not going to tell anyone how to fan. But my opinion is that if the Panthers have an opportunity to get the President's Trophy again, I actually would want the Panthers to get it, honestly. I know the success rate isn't high, but I just think about where the Panthers stand as far as style of play and carrying it over from a year before, where you're now having more of your actual personnel that fits with your system. I mean, think about the Panthers with the growing pains of Paul Maurice's system and how long it took for them to get acclimated to it as well. So That is a big reason for the Panthers as far as when you're looking at what wins in the NHL, and also the power play has come alive for the Panthers as well. So that's another thing for the Cats there. So that honestly, as far as the Panthers are still second in division, they'd face the Toronto Maple Leafs in round one, if anything. But if round one of the postseason started today, how good would you feel in a playoff series against the Maple Leafs right now? I'd feel real good, honestly. With blue line injuries, you don't know what you have as far as Joseph Wall yet, even though he is currently not playing. You're relying on Martin Jones as far as your number one for now. Yeah, it's not going to be exactly the same when the postseason comes around as far as that, but you got to feel a lot better as far as that right now if the season were to end today. But the season does not end today. 43 games left as far as the Panthers in order to make something happen as far as the race towards the top of the division, and only 2 points behind Boston and all. And you get that opportunity to get the number one seed and even the number one seed in the entire league. You don't apologize for it neither. Somebody has to win it. Somebody. And honestly, Winnipeg, what a great job that they have done without Kyle Connor as well throughout all of this. And Connor Hellebuck, he's likely going to win the Vezina Trophy this year. It's either him or Jeremy Swayman, one of the two. But maybe Hellebuck would get that more because get more votes, because he's more of a workhorse, while Boston has the 2-goalie system there that can succeed no matter who's in net. So that is that for the Panthers as far as style of play and experience in coaching and what they built off of last year, how also with Barkov and how he's performed. And once again, let me emphasize 4 assists with that face shield on him, and just incredible the special player that Barkov is, and he continues to show. And I believe Nathan McKinnon was a -3 on Saturday afternoon, and they were consistently matched up as well. And what both of them on the ice. And here's the thing: the Colorado Avalanche had the last change and had plenty of opportunities to have both of them matched up against each other, and Barkov won that one for sure on Saturday afternoon. But we're going to transition over to segment number 3, where we're going to discuss Sam Reinhart's market, and we're going to discuss more about how other players around the league performed prior to getting paid and after in the $10-11 million range. We are going to discuss that and more here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL regular season has wrapped up, but there's still time to get in on the action in the postseason with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get 150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. So the app is super easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet with same game parlays. You can find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and more. And with the NFL postseason starting on Saturday afternoon, and of course, the most important game of the weekend happening on Saturday night when the Dolphins visit the Kansas City Chiefs. If you want to put a bet on rushing yards for the Dolphins with the weather being at almost 0 degrees or right around there, you might want to put your bets there at FanDuel. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL and the Locked On Podcast Network. Segment number 3 here on this Monday, January 8th edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day here on a Monday. And quick World Junior update. Big congratulations to Marek Alscher on winning bronze for Team Czechia. And one great thing is, even though the Florida Panthers didn't have the most representation at the 2024 World Juniors, both Sandis Vilmanis and Marek Alscher were voted the 3 best players of the tournament for their respective teams by their teams as well. So a very encouraging sign for the Florida Panthers prospects as far as the 2024 tournament. So Sam Reinhart, all-star. Sam Reinhart, big payday for him coming. And I tweeted during the game on Saturday afternoon, it's just, let's just enjoy this while he's here, because it looks like he's pricing himself out. And a lot of this conversation is going more because William Nylander of the Toronto Maple Leafs, as far as I know, the latest report is that he is going to sign 8 times 11.5 with the Toronto Maple Leafs starting next season. And there are also a few more players who have left to get paid. We spoke about Elias Pettersson and even Leon Draisaitl, who's making 8.5, who's going to get a pretty significant raise starting next season. But let's talk more about how some players who are making in the 10 million to 10.5 million range, over 10 million to 11.5 range, how they have done in seasons past and what they've done since. And this is going to exclude defensemen, so this excludes Erik Karlsson and Drew Doughty, and this also excludes Carey Price, goaltender, who's unfortunately no longer playing right now, but he's still not officially retired. But first one on the list, Jonathan Huberdeau. Very familiar with the Florida Panthers. 6 20-goal seasons for the 2011 third overall pick. Last season in Florida, shooting percentage was at 13.5, 1% over his average time in his final season with the Florida Panthers. Got paid before playing a single shift. And I know there was a lot of conversation about, he should have waited to get paid. Listen, I'm not going to crap on a player for wanting to take care of his family and getting it out of the way instead of having that on your mind through the season. Because if he had anywhere the season that he did last year and still waiting for a contract, you are risking walking away and his market value not being anywhere near 10.5. So I'm not gonna crap on Jonathan Huberdeau for going for that 10.5 times 8 deal with the Calgary Flames and all. And scheme wasn't a fit for Huberdeau for what he does best. And at the end of the day, we spoke about how Bill Zito was right about asking himself this question: can you win with him as well? So that's another thing. Mitch Marner, 10.903 million AAV. Signed at the start of training camp in 2019. Incredible two-way player, can play on the penalty kill, power play, and it would likely be in the Selke running every single year if he were center, and got paid for what he was projected to be. And his numbers did not explode until after he got paid. So proved to be right as far as that. His teammate, John Tavares, captain, and a full no move clause. And I just remember I saw a YouTube compilation of all the times he said, I hope we work things out, as far as when he was with the New York Islanders, only to end up signing a 7-year deal and a guy from the GTA, which, if you're not familiar with Canada, it means Greater Toronto area, not Grand Theft Auto. So sorry, guys. I know Grand Theft Auto is a big talking point in South Florida with it relating to South Florida and all that stuff as well. But the Leafs have gotten only 2 point per game seasons from John Tavares, and his shooting percentage has only gone down. His role is reduced, and we've seen even the series against the Florida Panthers last year that he just doesn't move as fast as he used to be. Tail end of the deal is not looking good 1 year, and you're going to have all those 4 forwards from Toronto, all making 10 million or more for at least 1 more season. John Tavares' contract comes off the book after next season, so there'll be some breathing room as well, and all. So last year with the New York Islanders, 84 points and a 14.4 shooting percentage, 1.5 above his career average. So it's gone down since. David Pastrnak, this one worth the contract that he was given. Currently 27 years old, extended at the trade deadline just recently, en route to his 60-goal season too. Hart Trophy runner-up, which Tkachuk finished behind him. And outside of the first 2 seasons, he scored 30 goals in every season except the shortened season of 2021. So well worth that contract as far as 11.25. And then Austin Matthews, 60-goal season, the Hart Trophy winning season where Huberdeau finished 4th. And Artemi Panarin, 2 30-goal seasons in Chicago, a Calder Trophy, free agent in 2019 after 2 years with Columbus. Honestly, production-wise, those 2 years in Columbus compared to what he's done in New York and even before in Chicago were actually lower. And he was able to still get over $11 million AAV for his the entirety of the contract in New York. And even though he's disappeared in the tail end of the series against the New Jersey Devils, his shooting percentage in New York during the regular season, at least, is 14.6. And currently this season, 15.7, and on his way to 50 goals. And the guys over 11 million, those guys are in different stratosphere as far as compared to Sam Reinhart. Nathan McKinnon, we just spoke about in their recent game against the Florida Panthers. Connor McDavid, two different stratospheres, and we mentioned Draisaitl, who's going to be in that realm as far as extension and AAV, as far as that, especially with the cap go up. So here's the difference. Not all those teams have large goalie contracts like the Panthers have, and Sergei Bobrovsky has done nothing as far as making him a trade candidate this offseason. And his no move clause becomes a modified no trade clause on July 1. And you still don't know what you have in Spencer Knight. And crazy to think, maybe the mistake was extending Knight too early? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. We won't know for a few more years. But you don't also want to have a bad relationship with him neither, as far as that. It does. And the question for Spencer Knight, as far as that, is if he hadn't gotten paid for him, and this isn't to crap on everything that he's gone through, would he have gone to the players assistance program, or would he have battled it out emotionally to get through, because there's something later along the line as far as him being where he was supposed to be an RFA this past offseason in 2023. Big question to consider as well. But if you have that contract and Bill Zito believes that you're projected to be similar to what the Dallas Stars believe in Jake Ottinger, then again, you can't crap a player for trying to take that deal as well. And yes, we're glad that Spencer Knight is back. We are glad that he is getting some development time in Charlotte as well. So 14.5 on your cap for goalies. Well, 1.5 off the books currently, with Spencer Knight being in the AHL as well. So not every team has that situation as far as goaltending. So it's going to affect different parts of the roster. Sam Reinhart, 32 points away from tying his career high with 82, which was in 2022, his first year in Florida, with 43 games left, which he's going to surpass if he continues this pace. Shooting percentage is 8% better than his career high, which was in 2021, his last year in Buffalo. And he was a consistent 20-goal scorer there as well. So, and we haven't even talked about how he does defensively, penalty killing, everything as far as the advanced stats prove the two-way game that Sam Reinhart presents as far as that. So, but the question is, if Reinhart asks for $11 million, do you say yes and sign it? I think you would have to say no if you're Bill Zito, unfortunately, because of the situation with the rest of the roster. And you just don't know how much the cap is going to go up after this season. We know it's going to go around $4 million this upcoming offseason, but how much of it is going to go after? I mean, and how much of a percent of your cap is it going to be as well? And listen, the Sam Reinhart, as far as performing with Barkov last year, didn't really have that finishing touch, even though they had great chances. Can play well with Lundell. I mean, we saw it with Barkov and Erod coming out the other night due to injury, that Reinhart was reunited with Lundell. But how much of that can be sustained? Because 27% shooting, it's not sustainable. It's crazy because he got off to a rough start last year with the first 12 games, and then he ended up still being a 30-goal scorer as well. Crazy to think. But how much of that is going to put you in a chokehold in future years for the Panthers? And if he asks for $11 million, you might have to say no, unfortunately, as far as that. So we are going to have to enjoy Sam Reinhart while he's here, and just hopefully it results in a Stanley Cup where he can walk away happy, and the Florida Panthers can have him as part of their memories and part of some great history, which there has already been some great history for the Panthers in this trade where they sent a first, which Buffalo ended up getting Yuri Kulich, who was the captain of Team Czechia, and Devin Levi, who's still not a finished product as well. So one that could possibly be won by both sides as well. But Sam Reinhart is a big part of Panthers history as far as pretty good trades, top up there as far as trades that have worked out with the Panthers. Even if you don't re-sign him, it's a great trade for the Panthers as well. That's going to do it for today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Make sure to come back tomorrow for this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, as we will be previewing the Florida Panthers ending their road trip on Tuesday night in St. Louis as they hope to right all the wrongs from their first matchup against St. Louis at home, and hopefully for the Panthers to finish a perfect 4-game road trip. But in the meantime, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone and Stu Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects. Thank you once again for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. So I'm Armando Velez, signing off. And you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day.